Thank you very much, Mr. President, Excellencies. I'd like to begin by thanking the Republic of Korea for convening today's meeting and Undersecretary General Rosemary DiCarlo for her excellent briefing. I also want to thank representatives of many Security Council members for your words, but also actions of support and solidarity with Poland. Allow me to start with a quote. "The merchants of death are unbothered by the fact that their weapons methodically, deliberately, and intentionally hit civilian targets. The blood of dozens of dead civilians is on the hands and conscience of those who arm the regime." End of quote. Thus spoke Sergei Lavrov, Russian foreign minister, here in this very room at the UN Security Council meeting on Ukraine a year ago. Russian officials have repeatedly accused others, primarily Ukraine and its allies, of engaging in terrorist attacks by using drones to target non-military infrastructure. The opposite is true. In fact, it is Russia that uses these weapons against civilians. Events in Poland just 2 days ago prove once again every Russian accusation eventually turns out to be a confession. Today, for the very first time in history, emergency meeting of UN Security Council was called upon a Polish request. We did that, we asked for that, to declare that the sky over Poland, my country, a sovereign state, has been deliberately violated by Russia. On the night of September 9th and 10th, 19 Russian military drones flying over the territory of both Ukraine and Belarus breached Polish airspace, thus trespassing borders of Poland, of NATO, and of the European Union. Such incidents happened before, but this time we know that that was the first time since the beginning of Russian full-scale invasion on Ukraine in 2022 that Polish territorial integrity has been purposely violated on such an unprecedented scale. We know, and I repeat, we know that it was not a mistake. Poland, together with allied Dutch, German, and Italian military forces, acted calmly, professionally, and decisively, executing our right to defend territorial integrity. The drones that threatened Polish citizens and critical infrastructure were shot down preemptively. Drones are instruments of terror that have shattered homes and communities across Ukraine. 2 days ago, they tried to target Polish homes. This is one of them in a village called Wyryki in eastern Poland. A representative of the Russian Federation claimed that maybe these were not Russian drones. This is the evidence of that, including signs in Russian on the parts of the drone. I don't want to spend too much of your precious time on the Orwellian or near-Orwellian language of our Russian colleague, combined with blatant lies. But let me just draw your your attention into one factor. He kept repeating that the reason of this, again, neo-Orwellian phrase, alleged aggression, which caused, as he himself admitted, hundreds of thousands of innocent victims so far. The cause of it was illegitimate regime or fascist regime. You know, we in the region remember the same kind of rhetoric by Russian diplomats when Russia, then Soviet Russia, attacked Czechoslovakia in 1968, Hungary in 1956, or Poland, together with Nazi Germany in September 1939 after the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. The fact is that in the region, among the neighbors of Russia, everybody is free, prosperous, and happy when there are no Russian troops on this country's soil. And one can only hope that Ukraine will be liberated from Russia's forces and will follow the suit, the history of Poland, Baltic states, Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. Ladies and gentlemen, Russia wants to set the region on fire. Here, in this chamber, sits a permanent member of Security Council as a judge in its own case, violating the UN Charter of which this very country should serve as defender and warrantor. We call upon the Council to respond to Russian criminal actions with unified, unequivocal and immediate condemnation. Condemnation that should serve as a critical preventive measure to de-escalate the situation and deter further acts of this kind. As for Russia, we expect to take full responsibility for this unjustified act, to fully explain the reasons for the intrusion, and to take all necessary measures so such incidents will not repeat in the future. One more important thought. You know, our Russian colleague called it possibly malfunction or mistake or coincidence. You know, once or twice it can be a coincidence or malfunction, but not 19 times, not 19 intrusions conducted within 7 hours. And not only those drones, those Russian military drones, flew through the airspace of Ukraine. They also, which your ally, President Lukashenko, admitted, were flown through Belarusian airspace. The way to achieve stability and peace in the region is simple. Russia must stop its barbaric war against Ukraine. Poland will not be intimidated. Our resolve to stand with Ukraine and defend the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity remains unwavering. Thank you all very much.